Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 3 of High Scores, High Stakes, the podcast that knows its quaffles from its golden snitches, but didn't know it had an allergic reaction to both. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Luvva Luvva, and with me are my co-hosts.
Hello, Luvva. Interesting intro. It's Cardinal Smith here. Good to see you.
Evening, everyone's Tomahawk here. Good to be back. Another week, another episode. How are we doing? How's things?
Tip top, tippity tap.
Be better, like.
I've stuck with you mugs again this week.
It's okay not to be okay. All right, that's the message of the week.
If you'd like to talk to us here at High Scores, High Stakes, we just come on the podcast. Let's chat. That's why Luvva's here.
Specifically only about gaming. None of that, not other.
Yeah, don't talk to us about your feelings. We're not. Just
Oh.
like and subscribe.
Well, rude. highscoreshighstakes@gmail.com. Reach out. We'll chat with you. Anyway, what is High Scores, High Stakes? I don't know anymore, to be quite honest with you. I thought we were a gaming podcast, the only gaming podcast on the internet, in which every week us three hosts compete against one another in a league table. Every week a new game, every week a new challenge. Winner of that challenge gets 3 points, second place gets 2 points, third place gets 1 point. That's what we are. If you want to get more content, more High Scores, High Stakes content, if 1 hour a week just isn't enough, the easiest way to get content that we create all over the internet is to direct your browsers to highscoreshighstakes.com. On the homepage, you'll see lots and lots of social media icons such as Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, the whole heap, YouTube. Just click on them, it'll bring you straight to our homepage on all those sites. So highscoreshighstakes.com is the best place to get more of a fix of High Scores, High Stakes content throughout your week. And speaking of high quality, High Scores, High Stakes content, it's everyone's favorite segment here. Watch Cardinal freeze like a deer in the headlights when he tells me, "What are you playing?"
Thanks for asking, Luvva. Well, I have been playing New World's Eternium, which Sherry's been playing, and I've started a new character because Sherry's been playing in the server, and I've never seen him once. But I did get a friend request from him, which I rejected, of course. No, I accepted. And I have. It's fine.
Huawei.
It's fine. It's an MMO that you can level up in. So there you go.
6 out of 10 then.
Well, it's there. And you know what I do like leveling up. It scratches an itch. So there's that.
And is there like a
I love the
story to it, or is there just?
I just don't listen to any of the story. It's just I
Okay,
skip past it all.
we're a press space to click or to skip kind of guy.
Skip
then.
everything. Escape
Right, okay.
everything. Didn't even watch the opening cutscene. I've just no time for it. It's,
Wow. Take
Jeff
note, video game
Bezos'
writers.
storyline has not pulled me in.
Wow.
I don't even know
love
what
the
it is.
way.
I'm going to pull you in.
I love the way it's the second week in a row Cardinal has come on and talked about this New World's MMO and says how much he dislikes the game. And yet here we are.
Yes.
He's probably about 50 hours in. He's level 100. He's maxed out all of his skills.
Yeah. And you know what else I've been playing? I played Civilization 5. I went back on the PC. This is because I wanted to see the difference. I got annoyed at 6, and I wanted to get away from. So in 6, there's a mechanic where the whole world, all the AI, comes along into the new dome. When it goes, the world enters the medieval age. Everyone's in the medieval age. That never happened in the previous iterations. So in 5, you can reach the classical era before anyone else, and everyone's still stuck in the Stone Age or something. So I wanted that to see that huge disparities between different AIs. I got really annoyed because someone got to the classical era before me.
Take that.
Yeah.
Maybe you stop playing New Worlds and concentrate
I
on
know.
Civ 5.
Made me feel like a right quaffle. But
next week he'll be playing Civ 4, won't we? We're just going to go back and back and back further.
That could be a challenge. My turn. I want to go though. Tomahawk. What are you playing?
We're going rogue. We're doing
Wow.
things slightly differently this week.
That was unplanned.
Speaking of mid-tier games that we're not entirely invested in, I have also been playing a mid-tier game I'm not slightly invested in. It is the Dark Pictures Anthologies, The Devil in Me.
Ooh.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't really know
We've
what
great
else I can
reviews
say
on this
there.
podcast.
We are putting out top-tier content, guys.
Informative.
There's just something about this one that hasn't gripped me as well as like House of Ashes did, or even Man of Medan that way. I feel as if they're trying to put loads of new mechanics into the game, and it's not quite work. I feel like this is a beta for what they might do in like Dark Pictures Anthology 2 or whatever, but I don't care about the characters. I'm not really that interested in the story, but I'm just going to persevere through it just to see how it ends. And everything there's nearly no clues to find. It seems too linear, but I know I've missed loads of clue and context stuff. It's really weird. It's a really weird game.
I love the way you're putting down the devil in me for being too linear. Like, does anyone else see the irony here? All those games are ridiculously linear.
Oh, it's ridiculous. But at least they give you, at least every other game gives you like an area to explore where it's like, here's a load of clues, or here's notes, and here's stuff you can help piece together the twist or whatever's going to come up later on. This one's very much like you're in this hotel, but every door is locked, and it forces you. There's no room to explore. Apart from like maybe half an alcove, and it doesn't have anything in it. So I feel as if I'm forcing myself to just get through the story as quickly as possible and just figure everything out on the fly.
Okay.
It's different.
Lovely.
It's a strange one. Like I will finish it, but only because I can't just dump it halfway.
Or
Folks,
you?
we are starved of games here in High Scores High Stake Podcast. Please, please, developers, help us.
They're just not releasing games anymore. It hasn't been a game released in 16 weeks or something like that. It's crazy. It's mad. The industry's dying. It's 1983 all over again.
But that's it. No, it's
in North America.
It's been quiet. It's been very quiet this week. But I want to get it finished so I can clear the hard drive space so I can download some other stuff. But TBC.
Right. It's up to me to see the podcast as per usual. I have been playing a game. A mid-tier game I'm not really invested in. I have been playing a game that actually I thought was going to be mid-tier, and I thought I wouldn't be interested in. And then the reviews came out 3 days before its release, and I buckled, pre-ordered it, and I love it.
I know where this
It is, of course, Silent Hill 2. I have been playing that live on twitch.tv/High Scores High Stakes. Give us a wee follow. Go on ahead there. Treat yourself. Yeah, it's actually great.
It's gorgeous looking. From
great.
what I have
it
watched,
is.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, the whole thing's just really, really, really well made. I think I famously went on the record saying, I don't trust Bloober Team. I don't know if they've ever made a truly great game. I don't know if they ever will. And then they bang out an absolute, what seems to be an absolute classic with Silent Hill 2 remake. It is brilliant. It looks gorgeous. One thing I will say is the sound design is unbelievably good. It is unbelievably good. They redesigned radio static that's no longer static. It's like a grudge type weird noise. What? Do you know what I'm talking about? The noise in the grudge
noise, nearly like
I heard it on your stream.
Yeah, it's incredible. And when there's like something big, you get the radio static. You have James's audio cues, and you have like this haunting piano music in the background. I think I'm in the Woodside Apartments at the minute. I went into room, I think it was 112. And just the noise was just overwhelming me. I had to pause the game and go, I need a break from this. This is overstimulating. It's brilliant so far.
It looks really, really good. Like I say, like the audio cues and everything about it, and I think Bloober have just pulled it out of the bag, really. What I do want to highlight on this, we've highlighted it on Twitch, we've highlighted it in like the group chat and stuff. Well done, Cardinal Smith, for having a video game doppelganger.
Yes.
Well done.
James Sunderland. We'll stick a picture up here for comparison, so everyone can see what we're
Here
talking
I
about.
am.
Cardinal Smith is James Sunderland in Silent Hill 2. Yeah, it is really good. I'm actually really, really, really enjoying it. I thought I would because it's Silent Hill 2.
And there's Cardinal Smith, just for Cardinal Smith's sake.
Excellent. I just need to work on the curtains a little more. I'll
You're
get on
getting there.
that.
One day you'll
We're
have
not far
glorious 1990 style curtains, Cardinal.
Believe.
That's your Halloween costume sorted for this year as well, by the way. But yeah, Silent Hill 2. It's really, really good. I have been hearing things about a game breaking bug that may or may not appear later on in the game, but we'll see when we get there. We will see when we get there. It may require you to uninstall the game, reinstall it, stop it from updating.
More beef on the devil in me. As soon as you said game breaking bugs, I remembered what else I wanted to talk about. It has this prompt where you can turn on your torches, but sometimes the characters their torches don't turn on, and they just hold thin air. Sometimes cutscenes don't trigger. Sometimes action or things don't be picked up. It's wrong. It's all wrong.
Would you say it bugs you?
Yes.
Would you say that the bugs are the devil in the game?
Maybe that's the twist.
The bugs and the narrative, yes, the two main things.
Maybe the story twist is you go insane. Start remembering.
That's
Maybe
it.
the story.
Supermassive and Bandai Namco just were like, we need to make Tom lose his absolute mind.
Maybe they saw the massive meteoric success of Deadpool in the cinema and went, should we break the fourth wall? At the end of the game, it's going to say, I can't believe you made it all the way through. We purposely put all those bugs in. You're a fool. The end. Well, what a great ending that would be. It would be something totally supermassive would do.
Ultimate gaslighting, that's it.
Yeah. And
Quality.
speaking of gaslighting, Tom,
Oh,
let's travel back in a time and a world where gaslight, candlelight were all the rage. Electric exists in this world, but for some reason, they just don't use it. Let's go to Hogwarts and this week's challenge game, which is, of course, Hogwarts Quidditch Champions. Let's get there now. Yep, so this week's challenge game is Quidditch Champions, which of course released in September 2024 to rave reviews, I think is fair to say. Prepare for more rave reviews on this game.
No.
is that right? Is that right,
interesting.
Love It? Can we fact check that? What were the
Don't.
reviews?
Don't fact check anything that's said in this podcast. Everything is factual. I'm saying it on the internet, therefore it is true. It came out to rave reviews. Everyone loved it. Rocket League on brooms. It was called. It's not quite Rocket League on brooms, is it? It's a bit different to it. Before we get into the game discussion, I think it's really important that we talk about what our challenge actually is here. So our challenge was a bit more complicated than usual. Basically, what we're going to do is we played 3 games, 3v3 on online multiplayer. Every game, we had to play a different position. So goalkeeper, chaser, and beater. Yeah. And then what we did then, at the end of every game, the game does this wonderful thing and it ranks you in what it thinks was the most valuable player to the least valuable player. So after every game, we're going to use the game's own ranking system to award 3, 2, and 1 point. So that means this week, there is a maximum for one player to get, the potential for one player to get a maximum of 9 points. 3 games. If you're the best player in each game, you're going to get 9 points. It is really, really, really simple. A bit more complicated than what it usually is on this podcast, granted, but it's still quite simple. Before we get into the challenge gameplay, though, let's hear your thoughts on Quidditch Champions. Briefly, gentlemen, please.
It's not quite Robin or Rocket League
No.
meat on broomstick. It's more Robin Reliant League on broomsticks. The pace is a little slow, I find, but I don't want to steer the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What were the positives about it?
There's a game in there somewhere, I do think, with a bit of nurturing, a few sort of updates or a few just more features. I think it definitely has the makings to be, and like it's a Harry Potter game, you should think that should in its own right sell itself really, but I don't know, you're either putting man hours into it to get good or you're super casual, and by then the skill ladders, the gulf's too far, basically, at that point.
You say skill ladder, and I also say the stat and XP gain boosts that then they allow you to buy perks, which give
play to win. Oh, the
you.
pay to win, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't get me wrong. There is
Oh,
skill to this
there
game.
is skill. Yeah.
It's not as heavily skill reliant as Rocket League. I think we were talking about this after we played the games, Cardinal. Like the thing Rocket League does really, really well is it ensures that it is as much as possible like an even playing field for every player. The only thing that separates the players and the teams in Rocket League is the individual player skills. That is it. This game, skill is one of the factors that determines how a game is going to go. The other more pertinent factor is what level they are, what perks they have, how much they've upgraded their brims, how much they've upgraded their skills and abilities and all this here business. It is a strange game. There is a good game in there, but right now this game feels like a beta test. Like I feel like the real game is coming out soon, but I don't know if this is it. It's obviously a games as a service. It's not the finished product, but it's a weird one.
I remember when they said when it first came out, they were like, "Oh, 6v6 is coming." They made a big point about saying about 6v6. But my sort of gripe with that is why have that feature, or why talk about that feature so heavily, and the big primary selling point if it's not going to be available until early mid 25. That's my sort of beef with it.
What's coming out soon? Is it not?
I think it's 6v6 early 25. Yeah.
Wow.
To be fair, that is like crazy. A couple of months away. But yeah, and for me, features aside, and think in-game purchases aside, and I think the arenas are a little large. They feel very big for the speed that your characters can move, and for what you have to do in the game. Given that there are 12 people on the pitch, or or only 3 that you might control, but it just very big. And then I think, Luvva, you're going to touch on it, that there's a lot of the game where you're not doing much, and part of that is being the goalkeeper. You think that's one of the most boring roles. Surprisingly, necessarily isn't. I mean, if you
probably the best,
most accurate, or most active position, definitely.
Yeah, which is weird because you're stationary on the spot. If you ever tried to play FIFA as a single, become a legend kind of single player, that was Pez, and she was goalkeeper, you were in for a bad time of doing nothing for a solid 10 minutes of your life on repeat. But this is not that. It's the bludgers, the chasers, which one?
There's like a certain level of like frantic to it because like one player controls 2 positions, and I think that's where the 6v6 will become a little bit better, where there's going to be a player for every position at that point. So you can probably, I think the chasers maybe in that version will become a bit more of a better role to play, really. But I think we all had a blast playing as the keeper at one stage or another, at least anyway, be it challenge or prep work, really. But it just feels busy and a bit hectic at times to actually be able to get and enjoy in a game, especially when our gear restriction going into this was like base level everything.
Yeah.
Too many Weasleys is another point I bring in. It's very Weasley reliant. If you're familiar with the Harry Potters, you meet the entire family, and I don't know what they're doing there. I mean, some of them got killed, for flip's sake. It's what are they doing?
It is. It's a weird game. It's not dreadful by any stretch of imagination, but it is. It feels almost like 2 separate games at times, where it wants. I don't understand why it launched with like 6v6. It is a Quidditch game. They know you require 6 players per team. The only reason I can think of for 6v6 not being present, because surely it isn't that big of a job to add it. I mean, there's 6 players on the pitch anyway. It's just 3 of them are bots. The only thing I can think of is they released this game with the intention of getting it compared to Rocket League, which was obviously 3v3, 2v2, 1v1. There's no other reason for it. I don't understand it. Tom, you said it's frantic at times. The thing that makes it frantic is you have to continuously swap between the two roles that you're given, that you've chosen. But and Cardinal said the other half of it. There's a lot of time in this game you're seemingly doing nothing, and I mean nothing. There's a couple of roles in this game that you could argue the game would be better without, and it's crazy that is we're even talking about this on a game that is as simple as this. It is simple, but enough about this. We'll talk about the game
Well, hang
as
on.
we watch.
Well, hang on. Maybe we're getting into Quidditch as a sport here has flaws. Maybe that's the problem, and we should give fairness to the developers for trying to put this into a game, i.e., the Seeker. I mean, they don't do anything.
They can't do anything
until the snitch arrives. Like, it's such a void. You may as well just let a bot do that.
Yeah,
Harry Potter's a bot.
But if your Seeker is a bot, they don't chase the snitch.
Exactly.
I've never seen an AI bot catch the snitch ever. I've played some games in this. I streamed it last week for 2 hours or 3 hours.
And we played hours. A number of hours.
A small number of hours.
I will say that the level progression is really funny, because I think when we got to it, you two made the comment, it's like, oh, Tom's sitting here at like level 30, but my game time is only like an hour, 10 minutes. So the XP progression is super quick.
Let's cast doubt on that statement. Welcome to High Scores High Fact Check. We checked your PlayStation Play records last night, by the way.
Yes, we
did.
did.
7 hours.
Yes, it's
7
just
hours.
like we found out at the game event you guys went to, Gamerfest Dublin, check it out. That time you put in Formula 124 wasn't quite accurate, was it, Tom? That 117 turned into a 127, but that's fine.
I'm
and that
passively remembering stuff, but no, the in-game
now
menus
let's not call you out.
on
Let's not victimize you, Tom. But
Quidditch.
let's just say 7 hours is a little more than an hour.
We're calling a spade here. This is becoming a pattern in season 4. Tom's misdirection attempts.
I don't know if it's misdirection. I genuinely was looking at the in-game menus, and it says the in-game time is like 1 hour 10, 1 hour 16, something in and around that realm. Anyway,
Don't do that.
Tomahawk, look, that GT7 lap you did was 0.07 off my time. I mean, that's living in my memory.
What I'm going to say this season, I feel as if now you aren't going to take me or anything I say at face value. So I think the proof, again, is going to be in the gameplay. So
all I'm saying, Tom, is we will insert the violin music there in the edit, so people can really appreciate the gravitas of what you're saying. I will gladly take things at face value when they're accurate. But
High Scores, High Call.
Me and Cardinal, we're doing all the detective work this season, kid. We're doing it. We're going to call you out every time.
First we amend. We're going to say amend the scoring system for this challenge, and now you just go and check my play stats. I think the trust issue's not on me. The trust issue's on you guys, I think, this season.
To be fair, we did change the scoring system, but because the system that was proposed was insanely complicated.
It was fine at the time. It was fine in theory. It was not so fine when it came to the actual
calculations. It's like, okay, what does this mean? What does this
yes,
mean? You need
originally
Rosetta
how we
Stone.
wanted to work it. Originally, how we wanted to work it was going to be it was to be points for the best keeper, best seeker, or best chaser, and best beater. But it turns out certain metrics don't have a particular icon or a scoring system in the game, so it became a bit muddled and somewhat presumptuous of what we would describe what a beater would do in the game.
Yes. So I think we've said enough. I think Tomahawk has said enough. Lies. So yes, let's recap what the challenge is. So it's 3 games. Every game we all have to play a different position, and we will rotate through the positions over the course of 3 games. The scoring system is who the game decides is the best player gets 3 points, middle player gets 2 points, worst player gets 1 point for every game. And as Tom has rightfully said, we've had to balance this because of its because of the weight the game puts onto gear and upgrades, we've had to balance it as best we can. So we weren't allowed to use any upgraded brooms and all that sort of good stuff. So we are going in to Hogwarts Legacy's online multiplayer with
Not Hogwarts Legacies.
not Hogwarts Legacy, Quidditch Champions multiplayer with day one characters effectively. And now we're going to see how that worked out for us. Let's go there now. So here we are. Game number 1 in Quidditch Champions. In this game, Tomahawk took the reign in nets. Cardinal decided, I want to be the Seeker. I want to be the oldest Seeker in Quidditch for a century. And I decided to turn to violence. I am the beater of the team. So let's just find out how this goes. And we can talk about our thoughts and feelings of the game. How were we feeling before this game? I'll tell you how I was feeling, Chella. Apprehensive because I played this game the night before in a stream and got absolutely annihilated every single game.
Oh yeah, that's common for I think myself as well. Anytime I had been playing it, it's been a while, but there were no victories at hand.
Yeah.
So I didn't have much hope going into this.
Yeah. No, and we'd also restricted ourselves to the lowest brooms. We're playing real human beings and all their upgrades.
Yeah. Our opponents in none of these games were trying to create content for a podcast. I think that's safe to say. Some of them were, wow, ruthless. But let's see how ruthless opponent team number 1 were, shall we? Let's hit that play button, Cardinal. Let's go. Let's go. And yeah,
Game number
I don't
1.
even know where to start with this. It does that classic online thing of unskippable cutscenes where the game gets everyone into the server and all that good stuff. And then the game begins, and it literally just begins. There is no real countdown or anything. It's just like the quaffle is loose. And then it's like, oh, right. And you race to the quaffle in the center of the pitch. But because we're on level 1 brooms, we're never getting there first. Ever. There's just no hope of it. And as form would say, it is, yeah.
But
we're on the back foot immediately.
The second that you miss the quaffle in that kickoff, essentially, everyone's already halfway down the attacking end of the pitch then, and you're left chasing, essentially. So it sort of backs up what you were saying as being a chaser. You do nothing but sort of run after everyone and don't actually have anything to do as such. Like I'm watching Cardinal's window here. He's constantly on the back foot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was also not doing anything for 19 seconds. Because I got knocked out.
Sorry, yes, the timeout windows in this game is criminal. So if you're knocked off the broom, and you don't have a position available, so in Cardinal's case, there's no seeker, so there's nothing he can do there, so he has to just wait.
And I just scored, and then immediately get knocked out. So I'm flying high right now, and then I'm stuck.
Yeah, so this is the issue I find with being a beater with all level 1 stuff is your summon speed for the bludger is really quite slow. It takes a good few seconds to summon the bludger. And then when you unleash the bludger, well, when you're trying to lock on to the opponents in order to send the bludger their way, it takes a long time. And then when you finally lock on and unleash the bludger, it takes a long time for it to get there as well. Obviously, all 3 of those things are upgradable with upgrade points and gold, or if you just want to pay for it, you can with microtransactions, all that good stuff. You know the classic video game stuff. It's 2024. But yeah, beater is one of those positions in this game that at low levels anyway is pretty useless. Because you can't really influence the game. It almost felt like luck whenever you hit someone or you were just really close to them and they couldn't really react to it. It's a weird position as it stands.
That's it.
At this level.
Originally, because obviously at this point, I think we were sort of assuming the original scoring metric. So I have the option of going from keeper to chaser, and I've just spent what are the games 6-7 minutes long. I've spent about 3 minutes so far just sitting at the at my goal, defending the goal, and it's only until this point I've went, actually, I'm gonna go and try and get a goal here, and then bank my shots saved and see how we go from here. Because I was operating on that score metric at the time then, so I had a great time just kind of watching everything unfold and watching Cardinal Smith figure out the controls of the game
I'm
like
trying
in
I'm trying to
real
figure out how
time.
to switch to character, and I'm end up throwing out emojis.
Yeah, it's this was a weird game because I just find because obviously every player has this specialist position, and you also have the ability to go to a chaser should there be an AI bot available at the time. Um, I just find this a lot of flying back and forth, and you seem to get one end of the pitch to get the ball, and then the quaffles at the other end of the pitch suddenly. So you just have to go back. Your bursts don't last long enough. You can't go, as Cardinals said at the start, the pitch just seems really, really, really big, and it's just a lot of flying back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then yeah, it's just there's issues with it, but it is fun. I mean, when things go the way you
Want
plan,
it to
you
go, yeah.
expect, it is fun. There's fun to be had here, but at this level, playing against, I think this team had like level 60s and level 50s and stuff. They obviously had massively upgraded equipment. It even just hanging in there was really difficult, and you can see by the score we're getting beat here 40-20 because they scored one goal and they caught the golden snitch, which doesn't end the game. It just gives you 30 points. I think the first to 100 is when the game ends. But yeah, and now it's 50-20. So we're just looking at each other going, what do we do here,
To be
lads?
fair, in some of the practice rounds that we had, we were losing games like 100-0 or 120
Yeah.
0. So I feel as if like to have scored twice is somewhat of an improvement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
So
mean,
the
yeah, yeah.
snitch is underway. My quest to try and catch this has now begun, and to try and not get knocked out. One thing that really the snitch rule highlighted for me was the field of view is minuscule, and you
It's
see what
diabolical.
but the snitch pattern just goes from one end of the pitch to the other, and then does this sharp turn, and you have to predict whether it's going left or right or up or
Yeah.
down, and it just I have no way of tracking it because I can't see where it's going. And then the
Yeah.
controls, I think because the camera's so close as well, the
Mhm.
controls feel sensitive. Like the slight movement of the
Oh,
analog stick makes
massively.
it so hard to stick to these hoops that you have to fly through in order to
Yeah.
get closer to the snitch. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the field of view is a weird one, and what makes it even stranger is you can't change your viewpoint, because even if the camera just pulled back a little bit, it would be way better. I would personally
Yeah.
like to be able to see the full width of the Quidditch pitch because they're not wide; they're just very long. I would love to see the width of the pitch at all times, and it's programmed in there because when you're a goalkeeper, the camera stays pretty far back from
It's
you.
quite, yeah, you get a really good sense of where everyone is. I know that it's different to Rocket League in that sense that not everyone's on the ground. Like essentially everyone's on the ground in Rocket League, where in this one you're operating
Mhm.
in that sort of 4-dimensional space. So it's hard if you're a chaser or a beater to have a good eye on everything.
Yeah. Yeah, the 3D aspect of this, like players can be above you, they can be below you. It does make it. There's a lot more to consider. I find myself using the right stick and the sort of like that's not a lock-on camera, but is the focus camera. I think they call it
Yeah.
in the game, where you have to hold it in order to see where the object that your role is interested in. So the quaffle, or if you're a chaser, it's the snitch.
Yeah.
But I find when you're in the focus camera, turning seemed a lot slower. It was just a lot harder to turn your character quickly.
Yeah.
Was it just me?
It depends really. I think that it obviously depends on your gear at the point. I think if you're doing a level 1 broom, then trying to bank quickly is you're taking a big wide circle.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have like a level 5 broom, I think, which I had been using, you
Hmm.
can turn on a penny, really.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Cardinal catching the snitch earlier has put us into sudden death. So
50
again, it's
each.
the same principle as Rocket League, so the next score wins, would be that the snitch or just a regular goal. But it looks like Cardinal is in chase to go again for the snitch.
Well, no, I was in a chance. I was in head of goal there, and I was tackled right as I was about to pull out the shot. So that didn't happen, and I believe they're all over our goal here.
Yeah, we've been pushed right back.
And they caught the snitch. So what actually happened here is I didn't even know the snitch was out, and I wasn't playing as the snitcher, the seeker.
Yeah, this was possibly all of our fault, to be honest. I found in this first game especially, there was a lot of each man for themselves going on.
Yes.
I think in that full 9-minute game there, including the overtime, I think as a chaser, I think I received the ball from a pass once, and it was from Tom's goal kick. Not once did I receive a pass, even though calling for it when I was in good positions and stuff. I also missed a couple of easy scores. But yeah, I think that first game was a lot of looking after ourselves with regards to the podcast scoring system. And we were like, I want to get the goals. I want to save the shots, all this sort of business. There was a lot of each man for themselves rather than playing as a team. That final score in that first game then wound up 50-80 to the opponent. So we lost our first game. But more importantly than that, what's the scores for the podcast? Well, the game has ranked us all in our usefulness in that game. Getting 1 point for game 1 is me. Getting 2 points in game 1 is Cardinal. But taking the 3 points in game 1 is Tomahawk with a really impressive 350.
It would definitely be in the keeper, because you can see at the bottom there whether or not that impacts it. Like the saves obviously do, but passing 6 times it says there.
Yeah.
And then obviously I managed to jump out and score a goal as well. So being the keeper was I think we had said it there, was one of the most advantageous positions to be in, because if you make a save, that's obviously going to shoot your metric and scoring system through the roof, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot more opportunity to score points as a goalkeeper than any other position in the game. I don't believe the game counts like assists, like Rocket League does. I believe it only counts goals and all this here sort of business. But yeah, it is what it is. So at the end of game 1 in Quidditch Champions, Tomahawk's getting 3 points, Cardinal's getting 2 points, I'm getting 1 point. Let's pause the Quidditch for now, because we have a much more important game to talk about. And it is, of course, the internet's favorite game show, the game show of High Scores, High Stakes. I am, of course, talking about Name That Game. So let's get there now.
Hello, and welcome back to Name That Game. I am your host this season, Tomahawk. To those who don't know the rules to Name That Game, I have been tasked this season of going through Amazon game reviews and putting to task Luvva and Cardinal to see who can name the most games in a 12-week window. The last time, if I remember correctly, scores are 2-2.
That's right.
Cardinal playing an absolute blinder last week and getting 2 games on the spin.
Remember, you got all those compliments, Luvva, for playing blinder.
I know, right?
No,
I just go unappreciated at my own time.
Live with it.
Seems like a lifetime ago then. So what I'll do then is, boys, I'm going to read the review. You're going to name the game. If we fail to name the game, we're going to go through 3 different clues until one or nobody names the game. So are we ready for game number 1?
Born ready.
Absolutely. Let's go.
This came from our lovely Amazon reviewer, AR, who gave it a 4-star review. I pre-ordered this game based on the hype around it. Then on the day before release, I saw the reviews for the game from gaming websites and was very sad to see how low they rated this game. But it was too late to cancel my order as it had been dispatched. When the game arrived, I inserted the disc with great trepidation, expecting to be sorely disappointed. But not so in block capitals. The game is the most beautiful I've seen. It's true that it is very linear with lots of quick time events, i.e., movies to watch, but that's okay. This is a different sort of game from your typical third person shooter, which is okay. I think the problem people had with this game when it was first reviewed was that it was not what they were expecting, so it failed for them. On the other hand, from the early reviews, I saw I had a better idea about what the game was all about, and in fact really liked it. Essentially, it's an interactive film, and a good one at that. It's got a good story, assuming you like gothic horror, and fun battles. Oh, and the graphics are incredible. Cardinal Smith, Mr. Luvva Luvva, name that game.
The Order 1886.
Cardinal Smith, would you like to hazard a guess?
Yes, I would. That could be any game in the world. Who calls cutscenes? What do they call? No. They call it the movie, but they said quick time events.
Quick time events, yeah.
The cutscenes
Oh,
or something.
i.e., movies to watch.
Yeah.
Savage.
So I'll go Final Fantasy 16.
Okay. One of you has named that game, and we're going to go. It is 3-2 to Mr. Luvva Luvva. That is a phenomenal deduction from that
How'd you
review.
get that?
It was indeed The Order 1886.
When he said about cinematics and the story being really good, I was like, oh, this is Spec Ops, the line. And then he said third person shooter, and I was like, oh, that's not Spec Ops. And it was the gothic horror, and I was like,
Gothic horror, I figured was going to
easy.
be the big one there, because my clues, again, it's funny writing the clues, and I do envy guys for doing this previous seasons, trying not to make them so obvious, because the best clue I had for like clue number 2, for example, was Ready at Dawn was the developer, which I think Luvva would have got that
100%.
bang on in straight away.
Yeah, I don't know what the Order 1886 is.
So it's basically like steampunk London.
You don't need to tell me.
I don't need to tell you.
Got werewolves, mate.
I believe it. It's
pretty good.
It's gothic horror. I'm out.
It's quite a good game. It reviewed pretty mid, but I think a lot of people weren't expecting, as the review says, they weren't expecting it to be mainly like a showpiece for what the PS4 was capable of doing. I think
it was. It's arguably the best looking game on PlayStation 4. It looks utterly incredible. It really does. Everything is modeled with love and care, but the game makes you look at all of it. So when you upgrade your gun, either you'll go to a table, they'll take the gun off, and then you hold it in your hand like this. You can tilt it, and just to show off all the textures and the polygon count and everything. It looks insanely good. I'm pretty sure it was a launch title as well with the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
It was incredible looking, still is. It looks unbelievable. It's only about 3 hours long though, but it's really, it was fun, and the story was pretty good too. It was a shame
I have
sequel.
I bought the secondhand collector's edition. It's in the big box and the big plastic film still as well. It had all like the character artwork and the medallion and stuff like that in the box as well. So I do remember it being beautiful and amazing, and just it finished teasing a part 2, and then we just never.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah,
it's never going to happen.
But
anyway,
enough about that.
When are we getting 1887, huh?
We're going to confirm the scores are 3-2 to Mr. Luvva Luvva, and we'll name that game for now, and we'll head straight back to
I want to play
Quidditch
more.
Champions.
Let's go. So after that thorough thrashing of Cardinal in the first Name That Game of the week,
Useless.
I make it look easy, Cardinal. What can I say? One thing, I don't make look easy though? Quidditch. So this brings us perfectly on to game 2 of Quidditch. And just as a recap, game 1, Tom got 3 points, Cardinal got 2 points, I got 1 point. And now we've changed roles. So I can't remember what roles you two were playing. You fill in the gaps. I went for the goalkeeper in this game.
I believe I've gone for the beater and the chaser sort of combo.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're the seeker.
Oh no, that means yes. Sorry, that means I would be the seeker and the chaser.
I'm the beater
chaser.
chaser.
The beater then.
Yeah.
So Cardinal got the short straw of this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a struggle. That position is a struggle. But yeah, so right now we are less than a minute in, and we are 2-0 down. There was one player on this team that gave me nightmares. And there you'll see I just made a save but didn't get any credit for it. Thank you very much, Quidditch Champions. A game without flaw whatsoever. Still devastated by that, by the way. Absolutely devastated.
No, it's a laugh as well. I've just like because I've just scored. I found this is I don't know about you guys. If you got anywhere near that goal or you score, if you were able to score, the first thing that would happen is that you're targeted by a bludger,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you could be hit while you're celebrating or doing whatever, and that's it. I'm timed out now because the snitch isn't available. So 20 seconds, I will admit, is a very long time to be sitting around doing nothing.
It's absolute. I think I said this when we were playing this last night. It's absolutely criminal to have an online game where there is such an extended period of time where you cannot do anything. All you can do is observe the game. It is criminal because 20 seconds is quite a long time. It's about what 6% of your runtime in this, and if
Yeah.
you that's every single time you get wiped out. If there's no spare player in your position you can go to, so you could theoretically spend a lot of your game in the spectator mode. And the
No,
spectator
that's
mode
it.
ain't great.
That's it.
Ain't great.
I've clipped through the entire map on occasion as well on spectator mode.
Yeah. Cardinal's very quiet here. I think he's worried. Have you done anything of use in this game yet, Cardinal?
No, I keep throwing the bludger before logging on to people because I don't know the mechanics.
Yeah.
But even when I do log on to people, it doesn't connect
They
because people
dodge.
easily dodge. So you just feel like a useless fish in a like in a like in a vegetarian supper. I don't know what. Barely know what I'm doing out here.
No, it's the same
Yeah.
here because I'm like assuming the seeker role now, so I'm basically playing catch up from immediately selecting that character and then being knocked out. So I'm about 30 seconds behind the opponent who's basically about to catch the snitch then and more or less put them out of sight now. But it's hard, like you are constantly playing catch up, especially if you are having to spend most of your time waiting or like moving to another player until you can go back to like the primary position really.
Yeah, it's intriguing because obviously we're such low level characters in here, and it was by design, obviously. But I really, really, really want to see how much of a difference gaining those levels make to the actual experience. Because right now, this experience it's quite unpleasant because we're getting absolutely pummeled. But we're getting pummeled, and there's certain things we can't do anything about, like the race at the start. There's nothing we can do there because the other team have way better upgraded brooms and stuff like that. So, but as much as I want to see how much the levels and gear enhance the experience, a part of me doesn't want to play to get to that point because
Yeah.
this is going to be the sort of you're going to get this treatment on the regular because right now the score is 90-10 and it ain't to us.
I think
That's
it reminded me a little of War Thunder, if you've ever heard of that. So it's a game where
Yeah.
you sort of simply fly about planes, and it's very pay to win. But you start with the absolute like basic planes, and you have just no hope of doing anything in the game as everyone flies around in top tier World War II airplanes and flies around you. It just feels like that, and then that's how you're going to get the scores and grind to be where you need to be to compete with these guys at this stage. Maybe that will all change, right?
I mean, it can't get much worse than this. There's 2 minutes remaining. We're 80 points down. The snitch has just been released, but Tom, I don't think, is in. Oh, he is. But they've just scored the winning goal because I get stuck on the ring. I get try to dive, get stuck on the frame of the goal, and yeah, that it is what
I
it
will
is. That
say the
is,
depth perception on that all in the keeper is like the only thing that can be a stumbling block. If your position is not right on that, you will just hit the environment, and it's finding the depth on it really can be tricky.
yeah, it's
Definitely.
it's easily the best role in the game. as the game is right now. I do think I will go back to this game when the 6v6 comes in, because I think that could be an absolute game changer, because it should eliminate the waiting time and all that sort of good stuff. But anyway, we've been absolutely annihilated 100-10, and I think Cardinal is the goal scorer in that one. So let's talk about the more important scoreline here. Who's getting what points from this game? So getting 1 point in this game, shocker, it's the beater again, Cardinal Smith. Getting 2 points is shocker, it's the chaser again, Tomahawk. And then in first place, getting 3 points, shocker, it's the keeper again, and that is me. So I'm getting 3 points, Tomahawk's getting 2 points, Cardinal's getting 1 point. And that means it's all nicely lining up for the third and final game. But before we get to that third and final game, we have to get to the last game on this week's edition of Name That Game. So let's get there now, boys.
And welcome back to Name That Game.
It's my soothing bedtime stories.
This is my soothing hosting voice today. I hope you like it. You're welcome, guys. We'll get straight into game number 2, which is a 3-star review from KMJ. We're going with all of the initials today, guys. A great idea, poorly executed. The story really draws you in, and the idea that you're making choices to this graphically amazing game that will determine your outcome is a key element. But then the whole experience is ruined as the endings come in, and it all comes down to your reaction time on the controller and not just the choices you've made. Dreadfully disappointing, and meant that I simply couldn't be bothered going back and trying again. If the whole thing comes down to reaction times and there's no point whatsoever of even bothering to give any thought into the choices you have to make throughout, you may as well just press any decision wise along the way, as ultimately it comes down to whether or not you press R1 fast enough, followed by left, right, shake, or square, etc. Terrible. Cardinal Smith, Mr. Luvva Luvva, name that game.
I feel like Luvva knows this already. I feel like he's.
So I think
going to
Cardinal,
say,
what you should do is jump in with an answer first.
Oh yeah,
Before you do
okay.
that,
I'll say control.
Okay. I think that it might be Until Dawn.
Neither of you have named that game.
Okay. Suck it, Luvva.
Oh, darn.
So we'll get into clue number 1 then. It is a PlayStation 4 exclusive title. Name that game.
With choices and reaction time. I mean, it does sound an awful lot like Until Dawn. It really does.
Is it Detroit?
Ooh.
Detroit.
Luvva, would we have a retort?
No.
Yours are all on the right track anyway. I will.
Oh yeah. No, it's definitely one of those narrative games because it talks a lot about choices and stuff. I'm just trying to think of another one that's only on PlayStation. Like Detroit had a PC port.
It did.
Is what I'm thinking, but it could be Detroit, but I don't remember there ever being any real action on that. PlayStation 4 exclusive, Tomahawk, yeah?
PlayStation 4 exclusive that was released in 2018. I did omit that section of the clue, to be honest, but
I does not know. 2018 narrative game, choices, branching storylines, multiple endings. No, I honestly have no clue. I honestly thought it was Until Dawn. I'm gonna have to go. Oh, is it? I can't remember the name of it now. It's another supermassive game though. Ulterior Motive.
I've never heard of that one. But I will tell you that one of you has named that game, and it is Cardinal Smith. It is Detroit Become Human.
Become Human. That was it.
It's on PC too.
Is it on PC?
No, you just have to listen to. You just have to listen to MJR reviewers or whatever their name was.
I'm calling that clue's dreadful.
Yeah, call
Misleading.
that clue dreadful.
I thought it was a
Misleading.
great.
Misleading.
I thought that was one of your best Name That Games, Tom.
Misleading, Tom. I'm going to have to ask you to put more effort into making sure that your clues are accurate
Airtight. Okay.
and not misleading. I don't want to have to pull out the VAR possible misleading again.
Sorry.
I'll let it slide this week.
I just remember
but-
episode 1 where it was, I'm not going to let Cardinal have any points this season. Let me just take a little sip in those Luvva flavored tears
Cardinal, you know what I'm going to say here, okay? You
from
can
the
beat
Champions
skill,
mug.
but you can't often beat luck. And right now, I feel like you're getting a lot of luck. I mean, it's the only game I've ever heard of is Detroit Become Human. You didn't even name the full title. I'm going to call that out as well. Detroit. What game's that? That's a city in America. It's called Detroit Become Human. That's the game title. So I think it's a half point. But whatever. Let's get back to Hogwarts or Quidditch. Quidditch. It isn't Hogwarts. This isn't Hogwarts. Hogwarts doesn't even appear in the game. Quidditch Champions. Let's get there now. Half point Cardinal, I think. And here we are. We arrive at the last game in Quidditch Champions. Right now, it is poised very, very, very nicely. We have no one really running away with it. I mean, Tomahawk's on the most points so far, but it is all poised nicely. If any of us have a good game here, it can really put the cat in amongst the pigeons. So in this game, I was Seeker.
Yes.
Cardinal is goalkeeper, which means that
Yes.
Tomahawk must have been the beater.
Beater, that's right.
He's beaten.
I think the problem was in this one, I definitely suffered the same thing that Cardinal did, was spending most of the time just as soon as you summon it, without really thinking, you're just going to fire it. It takes very little for the lock-on to unlock onto the player.
That's what I was saying at the start of this, because we're so low level, like our wands and stuff like that haven't been upgraded and stuff. The summoning's slow, the lock on is slow, and then the actual travel speed of the beater is really slow. It's so difficult to do anything with the beater at this level. I think in the 2 games that we've watched so far, I think I managed to cause a fumble, and that's the only sort of action in the game the beater has done.
Yeah.
Just because of all those little, they all sound like small complaints, and they really are at the end of the day. But when you have when your main gameplay is fundamental, you've got your hand tied behind your back at this level because everything happens slowly for you. Even the cooldown on the amount of time you can summon a bludger is long, and it just
Crazy.
all builds and builds and builds until. And I get it. And I think at a fundamental level, I understand why they've done it the way they've done it, because they want the level progression to feel significant, and so you, as you play, you can see these increases making a difference to your gameplay, how you're competing with the other teams and stuff, and it makes for a very, I would imagine, it makes for a very addictive experience.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like the fighting game conundrum is, how do you keep new players if new players are going to get absolutely annihilated by people who know what they're doing and have acquired the skills, as in character skills? You're going to get a lot of players coming in, playing 1 or 2 games, going, well, that's no fun, delete, never think about the game again.
Yeah. I think going forward, there needs to be a bit of a matchmaking, because I find that, especially on this, even though that we deliberately had the gears restricted, there's a huge gap in like skill and levels, and it's not made. It's pretty unbalanced. The matchmaking is pretty unbalanced, if not non-existent.
I don't even know if there is matchmaking, like skill-based matchmaking. If there is, then the player base is tiny. And because like that first game, to be fair, that first game was really, really, really even, and it was a lot of fun. Like, I had fun playing it, even though we weren't playing as a team in that first game. I think if we had played more as a team, we really could have won that game. I don't think we were playing as a team, but these other 2 games, it's just we're 60-0 down at the minute. It just feels like even if we were all having the game of our lives, it would probably be 60-10.
That's it. We were skill walled pretty quickly in this one. I felt like nothing we did was gonna work. To be fair, and it's not even it sounds like a bit
I
of a
love a
gripey episode
scores.
this one because it's not a fault in the game. It's a fault in we don't have enough time in the game, really.
Yeah, it's another one of those, isn't it? These online multiplayer challenges, they can be bruising, especially if you haven't really played the game. I think my playtime on this, I think I may have streamed it for an hour on Monday. I think I might have had like another hour before that, just when it released to see what it was like. And that's an actual factual 2 hours, Tom. Not like I've only played for 1 hour, 7 minutes when it's actually 7 hours. Um, but yeah, a game like this that demands a grind from you to get enough of the in-game currency to get the upgrades and the sort of the cosmetic stuff and all that good stuff. But there is a game here. I mean,
Oh
honestly,
yeah,
there is. I can see the potential for this game. I think it needs tightened up. It needs rebalanced. I think they seriously need to reconsider the Seeker's role in this or make the Snitch appear far more rapidly because there is a big gap between the first one and the second one. It needs to happen faster. A lot of stuff needs to happen faster. I think they need to pull the camera away. There's a lot of stuff going on, but right now, I've scored a goal. It's 80-10. Cardinal's having the game of his life in nets, to be quite honest. He's doing quite well here. I think he've made 2 or 3 saves so far. Tomahawk is
just back and forth
struggling.
doing really
Yeah,
nothing. I get a
yeah.
couple of goes on the quaffle, but before you even get a shot off, or when you think you've got a shot away, you're tackled, and the ball's, by the time you even realize, the ball's halfway up the pitch again. So
Yeah. And they've just scored again. It is 90-10. There's a minute and a half left. It's not looking good for the high scores, high stakes boys here. It's going to take a miracle for us to get anything more out of this game. And Cardinals just done a miracle ball over the top straight into the hands of the opponent because it doesn't track and it's hard to know where the ball's going.
And it's all over. And to be honest, the goal kicks as the goalkeeper, you're always facing the same direction. You're flat forward, so you can't aim at anybody. And at times it shows you like it's going to lock onto somebody. And you kick the ball, it doesn't go to them. It
You
just
have to be quick with that. So when it comes to the goal kicks, if you have an R2, so if someone is back close enough to the goal, if you tap R2, then it's going to pass straight to that player. It's when you hold R2 is when you charge your kick, and then that's when that big long ball happens. So it is.
Yeah.
So it is.
High scores, top tips.
High scores, top tips. That's the only thing I learned from my 3 hours or whatever it is of this game. Is tapping the R2 and holding the R2. So it is. So we got absolutely annihilated. Those last 2 games, annihilation time. So it was. But let's talk about the real score, the real points on the board, and we have under ourselves another high scores, high stakes controversy here. So we do. We do. It's a big one here. We'll talk about it afterwards. So on the screen, if you're watching this in the video on Spotify or YouTube, you can see Cardinals or Tomahawk gets 1 point because he came third. Again, that's the beater. I get 2 points. Again, that's the chaser. And Cardinal gets the 3 points because he's the goalkeeper, and that's the pattern of the day. Now, here comes the controversy here. I'm presuming this is Cardinal Smith's scoreboard.
This is what I saw. This is what the game showed me at the end. Yeah.
So let's go to the next section. We'll get rid of this. We need the big screens for everyone. And we'll talk about this. So here we are. Another week, another controversy. Another one. People would think we're making this up, but here we are. So we just saw Cardinal Smith's scoreboard there, and it clearly shows that I was in second place. Now, however, me and Tomahawk had the same score, which was 25 apiece. However, on my scoreboard, it was Cardinal in first, Tomahawk in second, and me in third. Tomahawk, what was your scoreboard?
My scoreboard had Cardinal first, me in second, Luvva in third.
Mm-hmm. So here's the Here's the
do
rub.
love, I do love how it's just showed. You've got the same score, so I'm going to randomize
Yeah.
the lineup.
The actual how second and third are shown. Yeah, it's strange. Really strange.
Which is a nightmare. So it is. So we'll do VAR checks. So this is my scoreboard. This is Tomahawk's scoreboard. And obviously we've already seen Cardinals. We know the crack. So because I've appeared bottom in 2 of the 3, I will take the third 1 point. So well, but I'm not going to let you forget about it, because the next time this happens,
VAR checks.
I will not be. All I'm saying is it's I don't know if it's a bug or if it's a feature, but randomizing where people get the same score as one another is weird. Is a weird thing. Especially when it's happened previously, because in game 2, Tomahawk and I finished on 75 points apiece. But all 3 leaderboards we were in the same position, so I was top, Tom was second.
It must
I don't
be
know.
Well, even then it wouldn't affect how Cardinal sees it, because if it comes down to if someone fumbled or made a save or flew through a ring or something like that, it would track in like achievements or something. But surely it would. I think
it was a bug.
All three.
I think it was a bug, literally just a bug, and Cardinals seen the buggy version of the league table, I think. But yeah, I will take the 1 point, but I just want to let everyone know this is week 3 and second week in a row. There's a controversy that cost me. That's all I'm saying. Keep this in mind come the end of the season when we tally up the amount of points Luvva has been, shall we say, cheated of. And we'll see if they would have made a difference to the final league table. This is definitely the asterisk season where the winner will have an asterisk.
If you lose season 4 by 3 points or by 2 points, we'll know where Helldivers and Quidditch were to blame then.
Yeah, Tom's cheating and Quidditch's inability to consistently rank us.
Score keep.
I can't wait to see the final season 4 cup. You're gonna look at it; it's gonna be beautifully designed, and inside at the
big
asterisks, big asterisks.
I didn't even think of that. But yeah, so basically that means that I've been cheated out of a point again. Second week in a row. That's all I'm saying. And again, Tomahawk cheated out of a point for yourself.
Cheated out of a point. You could have happily said nothing and took the gameplay footage as gospel, and me and Cardinal would have never said a thing, because I was tallying those scores up just as we were going and thought, yeah, fair enough, that's honors evens essentially.
You see, unlike some members of this podcast,
I am integrity. Look at me, I'm Mr. Luvva Luvva. I take the high ground.
Integrity is everything to me. I wouldn't lie and say I've played a game for 1 hour and 7 minutes when it was actually 7 hours. And I definitely wouldn't walk in front of my teammates, gunfire in Helldivers, in order to rob them of a point. It's not something I would do. And in this case, I think, it's all about karma. It's all about karma, Tomahawk. Okay. Karma will smile on me for this act of gracious dignity, where right now karma's going, where's the dignity in that, Tomahawk boy? I'm looking for it, but I'm not seeing any. Nor am I. But anyway.
Where does this leave us with the scores?
So let's get down to brass taxes here, gentlemen. What are the points we've accumulated on this Quidditch Champions challenge? 3 games. Did any of us hit the magical 9? The answer is no. Did anyone come close? The answer is, it depends how you define close. Probably. So at the end of that, over the course of 3 games, I have picked up 5 points. Cardinal has picked up 6 points. And Tomahawk, somehow, because of my gracious honesty, has picked up 7 points. And it could have been so different. It could have been a case of 6-6-6. And the league would have been no better. The drama is being added to here by honesty, integrity, and Luvva. So keep that in mind, whoever wins the league this season.
It's all October, it's fall, autumn, and we missed the opportunity to just keep the score 6-6-6.
I know.
But next week's our Halloween episode, so who knows?
Okay.
Who knows? Ooh, high scares, high stakes next week. But anyway, before we get into all this business, what does those scores mean for our league table? It means this. In third place in the league, it's still me on 12 points. In second place in the league, it is Cardinal Smith with 16 points. That means leading the league now, the top dog, it is Tomahawk with 17 points. So it means it's tight. It is a congested league. There's not much separating us. One thing we have all noticed is we are now finishing episode 3. And every episode I start off and say that scoring system is 3 for the winner, 2 for second, 1 for last. Not once this season has that been the actual scoring system. So who knows, will next week's episode change that? Well, there's only one way to find out. You're going to have to make it to the wrap-up section. Let's get there now. And that is it, gentlemen. Season 4, Episode 3 is all wrapped up. It is done. And as Tomahawk has rightfully alluded to, next week's episode is our Halloween episode. And you know what that means. High scares, high stakes time. It means we're going to play a horror game. It means prepare yourself. Keep the lights on. Maybe take off those earphones and listen on your phone speaker, on your TV. Watch it on the big screen. It's going to be cinema. What game are we playing next week? Well, it is the scariest game ever made. Cardinal cried the first time he played this. Heck, he cried the last time he played it as well. Too terrifying for him. The graphics are so photorealistic, he couldn't handle it. He thought he was looking into a window into another dimension.
Is
It
it
is,
Gollum?
of course, Gollum. No, it is Vampire Survivors. It is Vampire Survivors is going to be our challenge game next week. What's the challenge? Well, I guess you're going to have to watch Season 4, Episode 4 to find out what the challenge is. Which means that we are now ready. We are preparing to land the airplane. It is time to bring this episode to a lovely, beautiful conclusion. And you know what that means. If you want more high scores, high stakes content, because this 1 hour and X amount of minutes isn't enough for you. You want to know what we put on Twitter, what we put on Instagram. You want to take part in Name That Games on Instagram. How do I find Instagram, I hear you ask? Well, dear listener, highscoreshighstakes.com is the place to go. Top of the homepage, all the links to everywhere we are on the internet and more, including twitch.tv, where you can watch me come and stream Silent Hill 2 Remake. Give us a follow. Well appreciated. And with all that being said, I don't believe I have anything else to say other than I've been Mr. Luvva Luvva. This has been High Scores, High Stakes. Thanks for watching. See you Monday. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.
Quidditch on the pitch, broomsticks in the air, golden stitch flying, catch it if you dare. Chasers make the goals, beaters break the heat. Bludgers knock it down, keep you fast on your feet. Seekers on the hunt for that gleaming gold, catch it, win it all. Yeah, that's the stories told.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Amazing stuff.
There you go.